So somebody's audio was a little hot. I
Yeah.
was I was trying to fix it. I was like, man, is it really that loud? All right, guys. Was it just us, or was that audio extremely loud?
Just trying to wake everyone up. Woke me up.
Yeah, I may have to. I may have to take that and throw that into my software there and tweak the audio just a little bit. Yeah, I really hate it didn't because he said the audio was splattered. What it was, I think it was peaking out.
Yeah.
Uh, let me see if I can. Let me see if it does it on my computer. If it doesn't do it on, yeah, it's still peaking a little bit. I'm running at about 50% on my volume. So yeah, it was a little excessive. We'll have to tune that a little bit.
You well, apparently we scared Super Duty Jeff's dog, so sorry about
Oh,
the mess you might have to clean up there. Um,
that's no good. Hey, but let me see if I can fix it right here. I might actually be better off to add it to. Oh, yeah, not gonna be able to do that while
no,
I'm in here.
yeah,
Give me,
I mean,
give me,
this is a
give me,
nice
just,
side of you.
give me just a second.
Okay, so Clack's gonna run off and do something. So we'll see. Yeah, we wanted to play around with adding a little bit of intro so it doesn't just drop in on our conversation when we guess when it goes live because we hit the button, it says live, but it takes a little while to catch up. So playing around with that. So hopefully that helps smooth out our beginnings here. But hello everyone, good to see you again tonight. We'll jump into the questions shortly as David's playing around with the video to try to have that working well. But got a lot of you in here already. Good to see you all. See, I'll scroll back here to some of the comments here. What do we have going on? Chris says Sunday night, it's Monday morning. Well, you're always in the future for us, Chris, and we appreciate all the tidbits you give us. But if you could get on those lottery numbers, then maybe Clack and I could quit and do this full time. But anyway, Vince, good to see you. Jim, Scott, ETLC, we got Jack. Good to see you, Jack. James, Mark, Don, Gene, Gerald, Dennis, Southern Indiana, Gerald from Canada, Chuck from Florida, everybody all over. How are we all doing tonight? So we'll see if Clack wants to come back and join us or continue to play with that video. But
What was you
HTL's still
saying?
watching the cleaning video.
What,
You're back.
what was you saying? I think I got it working. If you want to try to roll it, I
We can take a quick break, I guess.
yeah,
I was just
I
saying hi to
think
everybody while you played around there.
yeah, I think I tamed the audio, guys. I had to. Yeah, it was way heavy, but yeah, here we go. Let me swap. I'm gonna be swapping mine over to it. So if we can, I don't even remember how to make my screen bigger. But anyway, here we go. Let's see what it looks like. Y'all let me know what you think. Here we are. What? Wait a minute. I don't even know if it's putting any audio out.
Yeah, we're I'm not hearing audio on my side, so something for us to play with anyway, I guess.
Oh well. Hey, the video looks nice. Oh, but yeah, I would have to. I had to go in and set the audio output, and I just hadn't done it yet. But yeah. Anyways, but we'll play with that. Like I said, I was too busy today. Yeah, Chris, I can go in and set the audio. I mean, if everybody wants to hear it, I mean, if y'all want to see what it looks like, I can go in and loop the audio back, but it's gonna take me a second. to do it.
Well, let's play around with that a little bit more for next week, and see if we can get it not so glaring, but working well.
Well, if I open it in my browser, let me get that link you sent me. If I open it in my browser, it might work, but
Well, we do have a few questions already, so we
yeah,
can.
we'll work on that. We'll get the bugs worked out of it for next
Yeah.
trip. But yeah, everybody, if you notice that my color's a little off, the sun is out in Alabama, and my neck ain't the only thing that's red today. I got tan lines already. Brandy had me out in the yard working this weekend, as y'all saw, and I had a punch list of things that had to be fixed. So I got more than my daily dose of sunlight today. So any of y'all that's worried about me getting sunlight, I got you covered today. So we're good to go.
Well, we have it pretty mild weekend. We're rolling into a warm day tomorrow, followed by a threat of snow, followed by, I believe, next Sunday, in which is what, March 3rd. They're calling for a high of possibly 73. So we're gonna big old weather roller coaster this next week. Um, we'll see how that pans out. A little concerned what it means for us long term because we've got no snow on the ground. Ground's thawing. Normally we're still getting blizzards. We'll see how that does for us. But strange year weather-wise for us. So
Yeah. Well, all in all, like I said, I can't complain. Brandy's saying we're probably going to get some 80s next week. So that would be interesting.
but so you've been spending some time out in the yard. You gotten anything else done in the shop? Ow, there it is again.
I gotta wait on that. I'll have to fix that later. I
Yeah.
really want to show it off. It was really nice looking, but it's somebody forgot to auto balance their audio. Yeah, I finally got that back wall done on the shack, and my air conditioner is. I thought it was broke because it's not running near as much. So that's good. No more draft. Because when it got down to like 12 degrees here a while back, you could sit here and you could feel the heat on this side of the room and the draft on this side of the room. So having that wall insulated, I think is going to make a big difference. The humidity is normally runs about 40 something percent in here. It's down to 34.6 now. So I think the tar paper moisture barrier is gonna help a little bit too, keep the humidity down in here, especially this summer. Not so much in the wintertime, but in the summer it should definitely help me. Glad I got that done. I also went ahead and run my other circuit for the CNC table. Got that done. Got it on a 20 amp breaker. I actually ran two cables because I overestimated how many lugs I had left in the breaker box. So I was only able to add one more breaker until I update the box. But I've already got. While I was dragging wire, I went ahead and drug two 12 gauge wires out there, so I can add another 20 amp if I need to. But for now, I think that's probably about maxed out for the moment. But yeah, I had a couple of things I had to do yard wise. Now that it's warm enough, we can get outside and grass is starting to try to grow and all that. Had to get all that pine straw and leaves up, and that is the downside to living in the forest, as some people call it. Is the forest blows all winter long, all over your yard, and so at the end of the winter, you got to go around and get all that stuff up. And I've lost most of my chickens. I put so much pine straw and leaves in there that they've been burrowing down, and they've got like little tunnels going through the pine straw and stuff now. But they'll have that beat down in a week. They'll have that stuff composted into nothing. So, but that's cutting grass. Brandy helped me out. She helped with the weed eating and stuff. But yeah, that's why I'm red and my face feels hot right now. So, and I'm trying to get
Yeah.
everything done because guess what's supposed to be here tomorrow? The CNC.
Very
It's
cool.
supposed to be coming tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that. And I wanted to get my honeydew list knocked down so that I could spend some quality time on my CNC. That's why I have been hammering it out. And then I had to finish those two stove covers over there to get those dropped off tomorrow, hopefully. So been a busy day, busy day. I am tired.
I mean, I tried to get them to wait another 8 weeks, but I guess they're going to send it to you and you'll have it. So,
That's right.
well,
I can't wait.
win some, you lose some, I guess. But it'll be fun to see you have that. See how it gets together. See how. Of course, you got other things coming up this week too that'll keep you busy. But yeah,
Yeah.
growing up, and you're gonna have a bigger CNC than I have. So.
Oh, say it ain't so. What's up, Dave? How are you there, Mr. Dave Gatton? Mike, hello. I'm trying to catch you to see who all's here. I spent so much time messing with that intro. I'm gonna have to clean that up for next go around. We promise it'll be better next time. Uh, my dog just got scared the crap out of him. Let's see.
Uh,
All right, so they're saying, do you have a good way to start a job on a CNC and finishing with a separate laser? Yeah. Build your file to where you have a frame line around the outer perimeter of whatever it is. Like, say, if you're cutting it out with a CNC, take that file, drop it in LightBurn, and set that outer cut and set that to a frame line in LightBurn, and then you can actually use that to align everything in the laser. I actually did a couple of them that way. It sounds complicated, but it's really not, because if you're cutting something out on a CNC, where you would normally set that tool line to be, say, an outside profile line or whatever, you can just set that when you bring the SVG over into Lightburn. Just set that as a tool line and use it, and just make sure that it frames appropriately around the piece, and then everything else should be lined up where you want it. Because you can actually put graphics in VCarve and not assign it a tool line. That way you can see what it looks like. So you can build the SVG technically in Lightburn, bring it into VCarve, drop it in there, assign tool path to everything that needs a tool path. But if it's just a graphic, you don't have to assign a tool path to it. You can just leave it in there for visual reference, and then cut the file out, assign all the tool paths, cut the file out, drop it back in the laser, and hit burn. Hopefully I'll get to do a little bit more of that once I get my big machine.
So, depending on the project, the only other thing you might need to do is retain some reference marks for your home point as well. So, if you're cutting something out of a blank, you might want to leave it in with tabs and have a reference outside of that as your home point, so that you can make sure that both files are lined up. If it's in your regular shape, that you can't, like if it's not a square plaque or something, that you can just reference off of a corner or something. But it's all about utilizing the same file and having reference between both of them on each machine. Where you put your origin and where it works from there is the only thing to do. So
Yeah, I mean,
that'll sound
worst
like a good
case.
video.
Yeah, worst case. I mean, you could set it up to do current position or whatever, and do it in the center. I mean, not probably not the easiest way, but
Yeah, it just depends on. I mean, if you're just adding an engraving to an object, then yeah, you can set your project up so that you can reference the center or something and get it close enough. But if you're trying to align something, say like your flag file that you did with the camera on the X tool, well, if you don't have a
yeah.
camera, then you'd want to use the same file and have a reference point for your starting. So
Yes. RG says hi from Texas. Which would you recommend for new laser purchase? It says we create seems promising, but new F1 seems manageable and small footprint. I don't like talking bad about machines, but I'm gonna be honest with you. If you're brand new to lasers and your goal is to download an SVG file and burn it to a piece of material or cut it onto a piece of wood, you would probably be okay with the We Create. But if you plan on doing anything more complex, as far as building your own files, node editing, that type of thing, the limitations of the We Create are a big turnoff for me. I do have it. You'll notice it's missing. I got a buddy of mine who is brand new to lasers, and I decided that he would be a good person to take it and try it out to see what he thought about it, because he doesn't, he's used a LightBurn but not enough to where he's comfortable with it, and so he's using it, and he's going to check back with me and let me know what he thinks. His primary reason for wanting it is he already has SVG files that they've designed for Cricut machines and stuff, and he's just wanting something that he can drop an SVG in and cut stuff out. So I think, being that that's what he's wanting it for, he'll probably be okay with it. But if you're wanting to do some of the, building your own files and stuff that you see Steve and I do, We Create's gonna be a little bit of a disappointment in that aspect. Mechanically, I haven't had any problems with my machine. I know some people have, but mine has worked well. But that's just something. The limitations of the software is the biggest turnoff for me, because just like with the X tool and the S1, yes, I lose some functionality in Lightburn with the P2, but I can run it with it. If it's a file that I designed that is specifically a Lightburn file, I can run it from there. But what do you think, Steve? You've got the We Create and countless other lasers.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've got the We Create and the F1. It's kind of comparing apples and oranges a little bit. And again, I think it's going to go back to what you are wanting to do. If you're just working with small items and you want the flexibility of being able to engrave on both, natural material as well as being able to do some stuff on metal, and you're okay with that 4-inch footprint, that F1 is really nice. It's compact. It works well in both XCS from Xtool as well as Lightburn. But you are limited. And while it does have a 10-watt blue diode, your cutting is going to be somewhat hampered because of the way the beam it gets angled around from the mirrors, as well as no air assist. The We Create is a 20-watt blue diode laser. They've got some cool features, but a lot of those work sometimes well, sometimes not. And as Clack said, their software really needs to catch up. Their integration with Lightburn is not great. You basically have to create your file, export it from Lightburn, import it as G code, and then import it to We Create, where you have zero ability to change anything at that point. So it's a little bit limiting there, and yeah, it's got a limited footprint. You with the F1, you can at least move it. Like if you wanted to put up to a 4-inch engraving on a piece of furniture, you could. You can't do that with the We Create. It has to fit into the machine. So either way, I like that you're looking at, kind of the fully enclosed lasers. There are other options. The Rolly Automation Lasermatic was a big popular one. The Xtool S1 is a nice fully enclosed one. The Atom Stack A24 with their B3 enclosure is pretty nice. There's, having that full enclosure, like a lot of them are going towards. And even the Falcon 2 just came out with their 40-watt kind of full enclosed one. That seems to be the track places are going this year, is the kind of the more full enclosed laser. So I think that's definitely a place to look at, especially for your safety and or if you're going to take it out anywhere. So I hate to say bad about it, but I think right now We Create still has a long way to grow with their software, and you'll outgrow it quickly.
Yeah. Martin is asking about the two chats. The one reason you're seeing the chat is we actually throw the chat into the video feed, and the reason for that is because we're streaming on multiple platforms, and if we don't put the chat in the video feed, then the folks that are watching on Facebook can't see what the folks on YouTube saying, and vice versa. And so, to be fair to all the different platforms, and so everybody on each platform has a, similar experience in the chat, we try to leave that on the screen when we're talking to you guys. So it makes us smaller, but it does allow the people that are watching on Twitch or Facebook or whatever to be able to see all the comments. So it doesn't force you to use one particular outlet for your video. What's up, Hobo? How are you, sir? I see he's dropped in here.
Howdy from Redneck Central. He says he's pushing you with your red strawberry head today.
Hey, look, I already got some color.
Well,
I'll be brown.
I will need to. So last year when I came, so I'm gonna be down there in like 8 weeks. It's coming up fast.
Better bring you some sunblock there, powder.
Well, see, that was the thing. Last time I had some in my van, but I'm pretty sure it was left in there over winter, froze many times. And when I got down to Georgia and I was at my airplane event, I was out in the sun for hours saying hi to everybody I hadn't seen in years and whatnot. And it didn't take long for me to be, be pretty. Looked like I looked like a tomato head. I was quite red. So I'm gonna try to avoid that this year. Get some fresh stuff right away.
There's a question for you. I haven't heard anything on a 40-watt module, but have you? I mean, you're a little bit closer with X-Tool than I am.
I mean, I'm not in the know as far as what they're offering hardware wise. I do get the feeling they're still trying to get caught up from, demand of their stuff. They got the Lunar New Year stuff. Their screen printer. I did notice today, I went looking because I was curious. We've all been waiting. Those of us who have the screen printers have been waiting for the additional screens to come available. They have them on their website for pre-order. Unfortunately, now they're marked at $39.99 for 4. I think before they were like $29.99, but so they're a little bit more, but at least they're starting to come in stock. But as far as what they're going to offer for heads, I'm not sure. I know a lot of people who bought one or the other are looking to get either the IR or maybe step up to the 40 or add the 20. In reality, going from 20 to 40, there's some cutting difference. As far as quality, I don't think you're going to see a big difference in engraving quality going from the 20 to 40. So unless you're just looking to save some money and see if they're going to offer the 20 again, they might, but I imagine on their end, they're looking at simplifying their production lines and maybe just offering the 2. And it might not be a huge extra cost to them, but yeah, hard to say what's going on. As far as concern of support, though, they do still honor their warranties. They'll work with you on providing you replacements or better than generally, but you might not be able to purchase it, but they will still support them. So just have to see what they come up with.
Yeah, I am going to take Steve on a Southern Cuisine Expo while he's down here. I've been making out the list. So far, we have a hot hamburger, that's a Chilton County, Central Alabama thing only. You can't find them anywhere else in the world. He's got to have one of those. Barbecue baked potato. I don't know. He may have actually had one of those. But we're gonna get him well versed.
Yeah, I mean, baked potatoes are huge up here, and it's put whatever you want on them. So, I mean, for them to not hear about, we do, it's a couple steps away from a chili baked potato kind of thing. Just swap out your chili sauce for barbecue sauce and whatnot. But
no, you got to put meat in it.
Well, yeah,
meat in it.
Yeah. I mean, chili sauce should have meat in it.
I was making sure.
We'll see. I do have a doctor's visit before I head down there. We'll see what he says about my diet options. So
okay. What's up there, Mike? From Montevallo. What's up, neighbor? No, Brian. I actually, don't be trying to call me out in front of Brandy with the quality time issue there. I gotta have some time with my CNC. Yeah, see, you done got her on me now.
I mean,
I'm trying to catch up with these comments, but
it's not just Brian. I mean,
yeah. I'm trying to get all that stuff done before it gets here. V. Too bad you can always watch the replay, V. That's the cool thing about YouTube and the way we do it. You can catch the replay later. If you're using my jig kit and it's in irregular shape, if by irregular you mean it's not a series of squares, you may want to check your machine because you've got a belt slipping or something going on, because I promise you the files are good. So if you're cutting it out and it's not cutting out the way that it's supposed to look, then you've got a mechanical issue or your LightBurn's lost its mind. But more than likely, it's going to be a mechanical issue. What's up, Light Source Engraving? Yeah, I forgot to mention your legs on my machine earlier when I did the cleaning video. I got to go back and put the link to them over there too.
Uh,
But before people
Go
start
edit
asking
it.
me about it, yeah, I didn't think about it until I had done published it and it was coming up on time for us to go live, and so I didn't really have a chance to. What's up, V? Hello there, neighbor. Let's see who else we got. I'm trying to roll these comments, but we're getting to the point where if somebody doesn't start helping us, Brandy, it's hard for me to spot these comments.
Yeah. Well, um, let's see. Here's one from Mark before we get buried. When researching options for my Xtool D1 20 watt, 20 watt module replacement was showing into January availability has completely disappeared from website. Mark, is that the original D1 or the D1 Pro? Because I'm pretty sure they phased out most of the original D1 stuff throughout the end of last year. I believe they still have the Pro out there though. But if you have the original D1, that one won't help you, and you might have to look at the third party. If there's anybody out there selling one on the used market, or if there's any they do have a few resellers around, and so they may have some stock. But yeah, unfortunately, as rapidly as these diodes have kind of grown over the past 2.5 years, we're probably going to see some of these modules fading out of availability. The good companies are still going to obviously support them as best they can with parts and materials, but yeah. So he says D1 Pro, my 20 watt was assessed 70 grade power. So I do show the 20 watt D1 Pro module is out on their site. And looks like it's available, $600. So double check again, do a search on their site. I know their site sometimes is a little hard to find stuff, but if you
Yeah.
usually if you do a search, it'll help you narrow it down.
Tim's asking. He says, "How do I get to mirror type where the words are backwards? How do I get it back to the correct way?" More than likely, Tim, your origin has gotten messed up on your settings for your machine. Depending on which machine you have, is going to depend on where your origin is. But that's typically what if your letters are transposed, that's typically what the problem is in LightBurn is you've selected the wrong origin location. It looks kind of like the number 5 dice, the little squares that in the bottom right corner. You can just click the correct one and it should fix it. Or you can go into machine settings and do it that way. Or is it device settings? So we're gonna see a C definition laser. Uh, yes. I mean, if you're when I'm engraving things, especially if they're square, I use a square and jig anyway. But it all boils down to the file and framing it properly. So whether you've got a jig in there or whether you don't, you're still going to have to set up the frame. It's not just gonna pop in there for you. There's still going to be a good bit of alignment that needs to be done. Oh, ET got the old USB. Has been hit with the new eco-friendly Windows 11. Windows 11 is one of the most eco-friendly operating systems that you could ever have, ET. It will, if it senses that a USB port is not being used, it will cut power to it after so many minutes. And a lot of times, it will kill your USB connection while you're trying to engrave something. If you search my content with the keyword sleep, you should have a video that'll walk you through the process. Windows 10 and Windows 11, under the hood, they're basically the same thing. They have the same like interfaces, but they don't show it openly. So even though the machine that I'm using, I think it may have been a Windows 11 machine, I don't remember, but the steps are the same. The things are located in the exact same place. They basically took Windows 10, put a fresh paint job on it, added a spoiler to the back, and called it Windows 11. So there's not really that much difference in the two. It's just if they don't rename it something, it makes it harder 5 years from now when they say we'll no longer support. It sets them back too many years, so they have to rename their software every couple of years. To be honest, that's all it really is. But yeah, there's a very good chance that it's your USB port. I have been noticing lately, and I don't know if it's just me or what, but I have been noticing lately that some of the machines, for some reason, LightBurn is mismatching the device manager baud rate, and some of them are going to these crazy numbers, and some of them are going really slow. I had a problem with my MK2 twice stopping on me, and both times the baud rate got changed, and I had to go back and finish it. So I'm not sure whether that's a Windows issue or whether it's a LightBurn or the two talking to each other or what. But that may be also something you need to look at.
So here's a question. On the S40, are you running mostly 24 or 48 watts?
I've never switched any of my switchable machines to the lower power. I don't see the need. It really makes no sense to me. I know some people like it, and it's a gimmicky thing that some people like. But keep in mind that is a mechanical switch, and as with all mechanical switch, it's only got so many of these before eventually something bad's going to happen to it. So I don't use it. I have no need. Like the Rolly, I run it on 30 watts. The results that I'm getting are as well as I could expect. I mean, as well as I want. I'm not, maybe if I was uber worried about the resolution of an engrave, I might switch it to 10. But to me, time is money, and I want to get done with the job faster. And faster means more power. That way I can go faster. But
yeah,
yeah,
I've done a few tests on so like the IKEA 2448, now the S40. The difference in the spot size is really hardly noticeable, unless you're working on a medium, say painted white tile or something, that you might be able to notice it. Then it might be worth dialing down, or if it's a medium where you're in the lower band anyway. So the scratch acrylic, I was doing that with the 6 watt this week. And this was actually run on that scratch acrylic at about 12% power maximum. So obviously the 48 watts might be giving you limited, your steps are wider apart. And so you might have less resolution. So I could see some cases when you're on a medium, most likely not wood, where
as I say, I stick with wood though.
But so. Yeah, it's not something I mess with too much. Especially if you step into CO2s, even the 48 watt, and we'll see what the 70 watt looks like. Their spot size is still smaller than most CO2 focus spot size. So, yes, you have less resolution, but it's still higher resolution than a lot of the commercial lasers out there. So I'm with you. I generally leave it there unless I'm finding I really need some lower power for some reason.
Why I don't know. But Brandy said she thought you got the barbecue baked potato last time. When
yeah, I'm pretty sure I did. It was the barbecue baked potato. I think it had pulled pork on it or something with it. It was like pulled pork, barbecue sauce loaded into a potato. It was really good.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't something like, oh wow, I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, I remember you saying that you thought a potato was a safe bet.
Yeah.
Gerard, I have the Shapeco 5 Pro with spindle. Like, I ordered all the upgrades that I could get with the Shapeco 5 Pro. So hopefully this will be the last CNC that I need for a while until Steve gets one bigger than it, and then I'll have to upgrade again. But yeah, it's I'm getting the 4 foot by 4 foot, and you can see I got the 64 by 64 inch table I built over there all set up. I got the battery backup already in place, running it on the Genmitsu. So everything's going through a battery. So in the event that I have a power flicker, nothing stops. Now, if the power goes out for an hour, of course, it's not gonna maintain a CNC for an hour. But what that's for is in the event that, let's say, a squirrel gets on an insulator and it makes the lights flash, that will prevent any jobs from getting wrecked because it's running off of that battery backup. So I can literally go out there and trip the main during a CNC job and it'll keep running. Like I said, that battery's not going to hold up with a 1200 watt spindle. That battery is not going to last long, but it will keep those little glitches in the grid from causing me a problem. Board wants to know what a hot hamburger is.
Better than a frozen one?
Well, right now I would have to say the best hot hamburger is in I'd say Jack's right now. Now there may be some other places, but right now Jack's Dinner Bell downtown. That's where I eat lunch at a lot of times when we take off from the office. Uh, right now I think they've got the market on it for the moment. Country Kitchen used to have a really good one, but I hadn't been in there lately and ordered one. But I have been eating the ones from Jack's Dinner Bell, and they're really good. So I'm trying to find an image so I can know what it is. Oh, wait a minute, look at there. There we go. I found one. Well, I said I did. Uh, well, apparently the
Well,
Dairy Delight in Thorsby has one. I didn't know that. But we'll show you the screen here. Bottom screen. This is a hot hamburger. That is a hamburger bun underneath there. Then you have a hamburger patty, some cheese, some sauteed onions, and some brown gravy. Now, if you really want good fries, you have to put the brown gravy on the fries, or you can get it in a cup and dip your fries in the gravy. But everything's better with gravy, guys.
well, I mean, but if you do that, then you're competing with the Canadians for poutine.
For what?
If you put your fries in there and you have the cheese and the gravy and the meat, you're basically competing with the Canadians for their poutine.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Minus
I don't.
the mushy, soggy hamburger bun that just sounds like, why is it in there?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, Sam. I think you could. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Jim's Barbecue on Highway 82, just north of Prattville, has them. Jim's Barbecue is only about 10 minutes from here because when me and Brandy, like, if we decide that we want, a pound of barbecue for family that come over or something like that, we go and pick that up over there. Let's see what else we got.
well, while we're still on the food thing, Patrick's wondering, missed it, beans in the chili or not? Um, if you want true chili, you should have beans in it. But I am it, there's a family history of type 2 diabetes on both sides of my family. So as I'm getting older, I'm trying to be a little more conscious. So I tend to go for a lower carb version where I swap out the beans for more peppers and other vegetables. And if you really want to get fancy, you smoke the hamburger, let that drip into the sauce first, and then you make your chili. But
Mm.
that's that's enough about food for now.
Martin, the shack is 20 feet wide this way and 24 feet that way. So it's not very big. It was originally a pole barn that housed my boat and my tractor back in the day, and it slowly evolved into the shack. I think Steve actually did build his as a garage, and then kicked the
Yeah,
cars out in the cold.
yeah. So I got kind of forced into building this. We when we originally bought our house, it came with an original garage, and it went off the front street out to the front of the house, and then we also have an alleyway that ended just before our property. Well, they reconstructed this street, and we were going to have a bunch of stuff redone. And then when I told the city I was going to re-pour my driveway, they said, "Okay, but you got to get a survey." I'm like, "I'm just replacing what was there. Still needed a survey." Turned out my original driveway was actually over the property line into the neighbor's yard. So it didn't make sense for me to rebuild where that was at. That forced me into rebuilding this shop. And the biggest size I could go with, according to city, the non-permeable area of your lot that you can cover, I was able to squeeze in. It's 24 feet wide and 30 feet long, and then I went with like 9-foot ceilings or something like that. It primarily was going to be a 2-car garage with an extra 10 feet up front or so for some workbench area and things. And I focused all my extra electrical up there because this is all insulated, drywalled, all sealed in. And now I really regret that because I have so many more things around the outsides, but that can be fixed. But yes, we're going on, coming up on 16 years ago that I built this, and it's had a few iterations, but it's only seen cars in here for maybe two and a half years. It's slowly been taken over by the workshop. So
Mark, I'm going to be honest with you, Mark. Check your lens before you go to throwing your 20 watt away. Uh, I would check the lens. There's a good chance that a brand new lens put on that thing or one of Steve's replacement lenses would fix your power degradation. Because typically speaking, I would think that if a laser emitting diode goes out, it goes out. I don't know that it's going to give you diminishing output, kind of like a light bulb. Uh, so I would check the lens and make sure you don't have a bad spot on the lens that's causing you a problem. Because that's everybody that I've talked to that called me and saying, "Hey, my laser's getting weak," and there's probably been 30 or 40 of them that have either emailed, messaged, or called me. And every one of them, once they took the lens out of the machine, held it up to the light so they could see it, the lens had a chip or a small fracture in it that was causing the the beam not to maintain its point. So I would check that before I went to throwing it away, for sure. Yes, yes, there is.
Mm-hmm.
Jer O'Grady, yes, you will have to go into LightBurn, and there are settings inside LightBurn that will turn that on for you. It's for each machine, like as you add machines, you have to go into the device settings and set that up. So I think me and Steve both have a kind of a crash course video that goes over that, and
Yeah,
should
I've
be able
got a
to show you.
video. I've got a video. If you look for mine on framing with the laser, I walked through setting that up. But if you want to pop it up now, give them a real live demonstration too.
Yeah. Okay, Mark. Well, maybe it is. Maybe it is this the diodes going out or whatever. But it's hard for me to believe unless you got a bad one because I have run mine to death and mine is still as strong as it was the day that I made it. But yeah, I mean, let me get a machine turned on here and I can show you how to do it. We can run it. We can run it like right quick. So first of all, you got to get into LightBurn. So this is my longer B1, but you're going to want it in order to turn the framing on for the machine. You're going to go into the device settings and just let me slow down a little bit. That's going to be under, go over here under edit and go down to device settings. And right here, you're going to have to enable the laser fire button, which is right here. Then make sure this one's on. And then you're going to have to set the power. That's new. It used to only be on the screen. Huh. But then you're going to have to set the power. Now, typically, on the move tab right here, that is where you can set how much you want it to fire, which I usually run like 1%. And when you do that, let me see here. Oh, that one ain't working. When you do that, the laser will actually fire. But I can't show it to you because apparently when I moved my computer around the other day, my camera got mismapped. It's not even showing my screen, is it?
We're just seeing you right now.
Did I switch that after? Yes, I did. Okay.
And the other thing is, if you don't see the move tab, you gotta go up to window and make sure move is checked under views, I believe. So that's another thing that might be turned off for some people, where you can adjust it.
Yeah, and there's been oh, wait a minute, you're in the wrong spot. Somebody will call us out on that. There's been a lot of folks saying that their windows are like not cascading or not tabbing out like they're supposed to. But yeah. I don't know why my other. I mean, I shouldn't have moved everything around the other day. Now I got my other camera messed up.
So what happens when you organize?
I hadn't used it in a while though. So that's probably why. I'm getting that enclosure ready to remodel it. I'm going to remodel the other enclosure over here and have it set up to where I can have it painted and everything before the 70 watt gets here. Going through the comments.
Yeah, trying to get caught up. So if we missed yours, drop it in again, and we'll try to.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to the bottom. This is ridiculous sometimes.
We're a little bit behind here, but Mike says he wish Harbor Freight would get into the laser business because lasers are expensive.
Yeah.
You know, they they have been up in their quality on some of the things, and I mean they've been partnering with places like Jackery as well. So I shop there just as much as the next guy, but you still got to be a little bit judicious about what you will and won't buy from them. But I was very happy when we had one that came to town here. So here's a question from Mark. What are the normal spot sizes for CO2 lasers, and can one get different lenses to give higher resolution? So yes. So let me answer the second part first. Because it's going to depend on your lens size. You can get real shallow lenses that they come down to a much sharper point, but they also go out of focus much faster. And with those, you can probably get down to about 0.003. So that'd be about 0.1 millimeter, if my math is right. But then if you want a deeper cut, it's going to come down and not quite to the same narrow focus size, but it's going to stay in focus longer before going out of focus. And those will kind of push you up maybe twice as much. So you might be up 0.2 millimeters. So the diodes, the newer ones, they're starting to push up to that size. But typically, when they say the spot size is something, your kerf size is generally bigger. And that's where I see the CO2s have a larger kerf on most of the cuts I make than any of the diodes in your typical like 3 millimeter to 4 or 6 millimeter type of material. So, but yeah, they are a little bit bigger. The higher power diodes are catching up to them, but you also have a lot more flexibility with those different lenses on them.
Rusty's asking about the codes to speed up the longer move command and home command. I guess you're talking about like when you home it or you move it, how fast it goes. That is actually adjustable in LightBurn. So let me show you here. All right. So in LightBurn on the move tab, whatever this speed right here is set to is going to be your home speed, and it's also going to be your jog speed, like when you're moving the laser around in the workspace. If you hover over frame, it'll tell you right there, speed is taken from the move panel setting. So that is where your home speed comes from. So if your machine's homing really slow, you can change that to make it home faster, but it's also going to make it frame faster as well. But yeah.
So
well, no, wait a minute. The framing speed and the move speed. The homing speed is going to be in machine settings.
Yeah, that's your $sign 24 and 25 for your feed rate, your steed rate. So that's where you can adjust that.
Yeah, I got hung up on the other one. But this is your slow homing rate, and this is the fast. Now you don't want to go too fast with this one because it'll bounce. The faster this moves, the more bounce you're going to get off the limit switches. But you can tweak these. I would do it slowly and test it as you do. But before you do anything in here, save your configuration file so that if you do mess something up, you can load it from that file and get yourself back to a functioning machine, because there's no sicker feeling than getting something in here messed up to the point where your machine won't operate and not having this information backed up. Like the X40, and Steve, I don't know if he's had to address this or not, but the X40, these two right here have to be addressed because out of the box, it homes at like 20 millimeters a second, and coming 850 millimeters across, that is painfully slow.
Yep, I've already upped those on mine.
I knew you would.
I was gonna say, if you don't save that file, you're left with phone a friend. Hey, Clack.
Yeah. Hey, buddy. Do you happen to have a config file for this machine's controller? Hey, I've did the same thing, not because I didn't back mine up, but because I started thinking that I didn't. I had a machine that the controller firmware actually crashed on it, and I thought I had messed up something in the device settings, so I'm panicking. So I got Steve sending me his copy of his files and trying to reload the controller, and nothing would work. But it wound up that it was a firmware had crashed on it. I had to reflash it, and then finally got it back going. But yeah.
So here's a question from Up North Knowledge. Where can a person buy one of my lenses that they can't get on Etsy for whatever reason? I can sell them direct. I haven't yet because it kind of messes with my inventory on Etsy, and it's so much easier for me on the back end to track everything on Etsy. But if people really can't use that, just contact me maybe through my Facebook page, and I can send you a PayPal invoice or something that you can choose to pay off of with credit card or PayPal money. So yeah, I'll help people out that way. I am slowly also trying to get back to working on my own website a little bit, maybe throw some of these things out there, but there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes to got to do that, and right now that's where Etsy's the easy button for me. So apologize for people that don't like to deal with Etsy, but for me it makes things a little bit easier to be able to offer those.
Yeah. Brady said she thought she was going to try the chicken livers when you came to town.
I mean,
That's on the menu for this trip.
you could buy them, but I mean, I hope you like them because there's just some things that I might not eat.
Yeah, that's another thing that you can get at Jack's Dinner Bell is chicken livers. I usually get the double order with the order of French fries with gravy on both. Like I said, you got to put gravy on it. But yeah, I saw somebody up here said that was a poor man's trick, dipping your French fries in gravy, and point proven. I mean, it is. Hey, growing up, yeah, somebody that's what up north said. Fries with gravy is a poor man's routine, or poop, whatever that word you
Poutine.
was, whatever you said that was. But hey, it is what it is. V said she don't like brown gravy. She must not be too much of a neighbor of mine. She don't like brown gravy. Tartar sauce on
Uh,
French
and
fries. Ugh.
and Michael, yeah, call an IT guy. The problem is my staff they get a little lippy when I call them about my at home issues.
I got him. All he's got to do is let me remote in. I can fix this stuff for him.
Uh huh. Yep. Yep.
Oh, I am making some progress on these comments. I'm seeing the bottom. And if you put
Uh,
something out here that was a question and we've missed it, guys, don't be afraid to like throw some question marks in there and drop your question again because I'm trying to scroll these things as fast as I can.
yeah, we try to hit them all as we can, but sometimes we miss them, and it won't hurt our feelings if we get extra comments in our on our videos and such. So go ahead and throw them out there again. Michael's asking, do we use masking for cutting out things like ornaments, 1/8 inch thick? The Atom Stack Air Assist does not seem to help a lot to prevent the smoke staining. Um, I don't very often, unless it's something that I can't hit with sandpaper or something afterwards. Then I might mask it off. But a lot of that I can usually just use a really like a 220 grit sandpaper, and it won't attack it too much. But if they're super thin, you do run the risk of breaking them. So I could see that being the case. But now you're dealing with sometimes, depending on your masking material, you can get some of that glue residue on it, or it's a real pain to go through and weed it all. So I use it very selectively, but there are some cases when I will.
Greg's saying that he's having problems with his LC40 Jinmitsu getting it connected to the laptop. Um, I don't remember if that was one of the ones that I had to manually install. I should have had the process on my video that I did. Ain't the LC40 is the one that I did the video on, right? That's the enclosed one, or is that the L8? Hang on, I
Mine
think that
is
was the L8.
I think mine was the LC 50, which is the wide 10 watt. I'm pretty sure mine auto detected.
Okay, yeah, that's not a machine I've had. That's LC40 is a 5.5 to 10 watt. The one I had was the L8, I think it was called.
I
It
I
it
guess
may just be not, that it's not auto detecting. Make sure that you the Genmitsu's use a CH340 driver as well too, right?
yes, they do. Yep. First thing I would check, assuming it's Windows, is go into your device manager and search the COM ports with the laser turned on and connected. If it shows up in there as a CH340 COM whatever, it'll randomly assign it something based on what's available. then at least you know that the computer is seeing it. But at that point, you may need to go into both LightBurn as well as the device manager and start checking things like your baud rate, make sure that they match up. You may have to manually add it, and I believe their manual might explain how to do that, but it's not too difficult. Shoot, I don't have my manual here for that one, but if it's not showing up in device manager though, with the laser on and connected, then it's either a bad cable or there's something that it can't detect, and you might want to uninstall, reinstall the drivers. And if at that point you still can't get it to detect, try swapping cables. You might be needing to contact Genmitsu and SaneSmart to say you got an issue. But
And one basic IT thing that might actually help you if you want to try this is with the device plugged into the machine, reboot the machine just in case maybe the driver got hung up when you first installed it or maybe it didn't apply it. I would do that. I would either unplug it, boot the computer, and as it's booting up, plug it back in, or just reboot it with it already connected to it. The driver might have got hung up a little bit going in. Not likely, but there are some devices that if you install them, that they will not complete the install until you reboot the machine. So I have had some lasers that were just sluggish about identifying themselves and collecting the proper drivers. But during the Windows boot up sequence, it kind of forces all your peripherals to identify themselves so they can make sure the right drivers installed. Jeff's saying the LC40 needs a flash update to work with
hmm,
LightBurn. That
that's
would be an issue if the firmware needed flashing.
yeah.
So you might want to look into that. I'm assuming it would probably be on their website. The directions he's saying it is. Appreciate you, Jeff. That was not a machine I'm familiar with. So
Yeah, I don't, and on my LC50, I don't think I had to do that, so that wasn't something I thought of either. But um, hopefully, that process isn't too bad if that's the case.
yeah. Viral saying he did around 40 slate coasters on the MK2, and for some reason the alignment was way off on the next batch. Was not able to correct it. Next morning worked fine. Any ideas on what might have happened? The obvious answer is that the module head got bumped either during the offloading or onloading process. That would be the likely suspect. And if you're running the MK2, my recommendation is to set your return to location on the machine to the back left corner, like 5 millimeters from either end of the axis. That way, when you're reaching in there to place items or putting stuff in there to reload it, if you're doing a batch job like that, when it completes that first batch, it's going to move all the way into the back left corner where you can't hit it, and it's going to hang out there. And then once you get it reloaded, you hit start, it comes back out and it burns the next one. But my guess would be somehow mechanically the laser head got moved. The Rolly, I mean, the frame of this thing basically is the size of the work area, and it is very consistent. I haven't had any problems like that. So my guess is going to be either it got bumped, cable got binded, maybe, but with the drag chains, not likely. So, but somehow or another, more than likely, the head got mechanically moved. The next day, when you fired it up, it either automatically homed or you homed the machine, and it fixed the issue. That would be my thoughts on the matter. And it's never a bad idea if you're loading a bunch of items in there to just go ahead and home before you send the job out. Uh, I don't a lot of
I,
times, but it's not a bad idea.
so I like to home once, but like you mentioned, I have it return at the finish of the job, have it go to the back corner to where it's
Mm-hmm.
telling it to go to a specific spot, because you got to remember every time it homes, it's going off of mechanical switches, and there can be slight variations on when it registers that home. So you can find you're off. Now, a good machine, it should be pretty much dead on every time with a incomprehensible variation if possible. But there have been some machines I've noticed where they're a little less consistent,
Yeah.
and so that's where I like to park it and just be careful not to move things. So
Yeah. Now I will say I've checked the Rolly. I did a 12 pass, like send it, burn, home it. send it, burn, home it. I did a 12
Mhm.
pass line, and I mean I've got it's dead on. And I don't know if it's because of the maybe the debounce the bounce time on the switches or what they've got it tuned just right, but it is very accurate. You can home that machine and send it out 10 to 12 times and it'll hit the exact same spot. So I don't think with it being the Rolly now some of the other machines if you're sub millimeter variations, you know what I mean. If you've got a millimeter or less variation between homes, that's pretty accurate. But with this machine that I've got, my particular machine, it's doing a really good job of maintaining consistency. That's why I've gotten to where I use it on a lot of my little small stuff that I have to do. Is because it's right here behind me now, and it is it's very good. I go to Origin before every burn. Oh, if you're using user Origin, then that very well may. I don't understand that. If I would be running up north, I would be running absolute coordinates and using the home location on an MK2. If that was that him that asked that question? No, that was Verl. Never
So
mind.
Gerard's asking, he's got a X-Tool D1 Pro 20 watt, have the same firmware it came with. Do I need to update it? If so, how? Well, uh, if you're using XCS, it's going to probably force you to update it because it checks quite often when you're running it and gives you a little alert that you need to update it. If you're running LightBurn and everything's working for you, if it's not broke, don't fix it is kind of the old adage, and I would agree with that. But there are sometimes there's advantages. They put new features in, make it run a little bit better. So if you want to, you're going to have to go back into Xtool Creative Space. You're going to need to make sure that that's updated, connect your machine, and then I believe you can go up to the gear icon in the upper right, and from there you'll be able to check for any firmware updates that are available for any machines that it can seize. So generally, most of those are going to be more related to the machine working with their software than it is the machine working with LightBurn. But in some cases, it may actually open up LightBurn features. So it's good to kind of keep an eye on that. Maybe read the notes on the firmware updates, new features to see if it's something that you want to do. Because just as much as it can add capability, it can also break things. So
Yeah, I don't know whether Michael's saying he agrees with me or what, but yeah, I mean, hey, you can try my approach or you can't. You don't have to, but I will tell you that sometimes things get sticky on the install, but it'll for whatever reason it'll push them on through during reboot. Da, da, da. Let's see what else we got. Michael, yes, actually I do, and it's in my Etsy shop. That's the one that I've got, the X40. I don't think so. Is mine the Max? The Max is the one that has the.
the X40 Max
No,
should be the.
no, mine is the Max. I couldn't remember.
Yep.
I was thinking about that 70. The 70 that they wanted to send us was the 850 by 850, which was unreal. But yeah, I've got it's in my Etsy shop already. It's the one that I'm running in my machine over here. Is that one right there? Matter of fact, I included this one. This is I'm running the bolt down, like the screw down base in my enclosure because I'm running my enclosure Zilla. But I did create one that you can simply slide the legs down in as well if people prefer for that model. But this one's pretty handy because it basically attaches to the enclosure, and then there's little feet that you can screw to your enclosure that holds the machine still. So it serves the same purpose. It's just less jig and it's a little more solid because the pieces are all screwed to the top instead of you know worrying about them trying to bow or bend or twist or anything.
Not a question, but Chris Oliver saying worked a local event yesterday, got his first custom engraving job. So congratulations.
Woohoo!
That's awesome when you can come away from an event and get some custom work like that, because that's where some of the real, you can start making some really good contacts and get some better profit out there. So
Yeah. Well, VT, this is my go-to. I've had two fires since I've been doing lasers. I've had two fires, both of which I knew were going to happen. So I'm literally standing there watching it like this. One of them was one of those little coconut hair rug things that I tried to laser engrave, which was a terrible idea. It looked like a small grass fire in slow motion. And I just moved the laser head out of the way, spritzed it with this right here, problem solved. Another one was a machine that I was testing, and it had issues, and it was running like when they install the wrong format, the machines where the laser stays on after it stops. You know what I'm talking about? It
Oh,
just
yeah.
like burns a big massive hole. Then I had to grab this one time. But this is just an old spray cleaner bottle with water out of the tap. And that should be, if you're doing things correctly, that should be all you need. But I also have this little guy here, which I just made these cool little brackets for, as well as you can see that one mounted to the pole right there beside the rolly. But this is a like first alert or whatever, just like household little fire suppression system. And then I've got that one over there, which is the blaze defense. It's something that we use on tactical teams and stuff like that. So if you like were to have a small fire, it's something that you can put in your kit, and you can snatch it out and put a fire out or whatever. But over by the door, I've got an actual like a big one, like a regular fire extinguisher. But if you're staying with your machine and doing what you're supposed to, this ought to be everything that you'll ever need. But I do recommend having at least one of these small things here. And then, like I said, the second one that I have is like one of the, was it a boat? I guess boat or automotive fire extinguishers. It's not the real big one, but it's big enough that if I can't put it out with that, I just need to be calling 911 and getting the heck out of here. So you need to have a plan. You need to have the stuff sitting around and know where it's at. And like I said, I just made brackets for this, and just coincidentally, it fits this one as well as the Blaze Defense and a bunch of other products. So I got to mount this one. I just hadn't figured out where I'm going to mount it at yet. But I do have a 3D print file now that I could put in the Etsy shop for making these, and I've actually got an order for 150 sets of these clamps for a company. But I think I'm gonna have to buy me a Bamboo Labs or something. I don't think the Ender is going to be up to doing 150
Yeah.
sets of them. It's good for prototyping, not so much for production.
Yeah, I'm with you on that recommendation, especially the points. I mean, I've got, as you walk in my shop, I've got my electrical panels there. I've got a fire extinguisher on the wall right by it. I've got a first aid kit that's on the wall right by it, so that I know where they're at. And I have others in other areas by certain machines. But knowing where they're at, so like you could tell someone else, like if you're hurt, you could say, hey, grab the kit. It's over by the door. It's by the panel. Instead of having them, they're visible. They're on the wall. They can see it. And yeah, I mean, if you really want to, if you're worried about a big fire and you want to try to save your equipment, you're going to want to get like a CO2 fire extinguisher, but be prepared to spend about $200+ on one of those. And as Clack said, you try to take care of it when it's small. And if it's that big, I just want it done before it burns down the whole shop. Machine, it's a loss at that point. Let insurance worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, that somebody said that the other day. They're like, "Well, that thing doesn't look like it's electronic safe." If I'm reaching for one of these rather than this, at that point, I'm just trying to save the rest of the equipment.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about the laser, because chances are, if the fire is big enough to justify the use of this right here, the module and the wiring harness have already been completely fried. So it's a total loss already. So am I worried about what this might do to it at that point? No. If you can catch them with this is the way to go. You just shut the machine down, slide the module out of the way, hit it with a couple of spritzes, and you're done. But if you're reaching for this, there's no need to worry about whether it's going to harm the electronics, because chances are the most valuable part of that machine, which is the module, has already been like exposed to way more heat than it's going to want. So yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. That's like, somebody saying, well, oh yeah, the fire department put my house out, but they got water in the floor. Well, if they hadn't used water, you wouldn't have a house. So, it's one of those things. Staying with your machine, being mindful of the material, and trying to use best practices as far as making sure your machine's not a raging inferno is the best approach.
Tim's asking about the laser lenses I sell, if is it by machine or fit at all. So primarily I have a lens. The lens I sell is kind of, it fits most that. And the criteria are, if you, I have one here. If you take well, first off, depends on if your laser has one of these typical um, brass lens caps. And some of them, like Sculpt Fun and Ortour, they don't have one this size. They're smaller. So this has the lens on the inside. Now they've switched. They used to have a ring inside here that you could unscrew. Then they decided to start gluing those in, the rings. Then they started deciding to glue these in. So what you end up having to do is soak this in acetone for a while, and then that lens should pop free. But you want to check this inner diameter. If that's about 14 millimeters, and it has a flat bottom like this one, my lenses will fit. They're about 12 and a half to 13 millimeters. So there's just a little bit of wiggle room. And then what I have is a couple different sizes of O-rings that then you put your lens in, you drop the O-ring in, you tighten this up, and it should just snug up against the base of the module. And then you won't have to worry about them being glued in. You can pop them out after that. Makes it easier to clean or swap them. So this is a consumable. You try to keep it as clean as you can using good cleaning practices and good airflow on your engravings, and you shouldn't have to replace them too often. If you're having to replace them too often, you either have bad air extraction, you got bad air supply to your head, or you're just running too much in between cleanings. So, and
Or you
also
have
make sure
water,
you're
or
using
you
the
have
right.
water in your air.
Well, water in your air or water in your cleaner. So, using the right type of cleaner is really important. You want pure alcohol if possible. So, you can buy 99% isopropyl alcohol. It's online. There's some laser places that sell it. You don't want to go and get the 50 or the 75. Even the 91 will have a little bit of water in there that can leave spots on your lenses. So you want to be cleaning it with as pure of alcohol as you can. And then a lot of lasers come with them. Otherwise, you can buy them. Get yourself a lint-free cloth. Keep it stored somewhere where it's not going to get dust on it. If you really want to take the extra step, put on a pair of, neoprene gloves, because you don't want to get any dust, oil, or anything on there while you're cleaning it. I don't recommend using normal Q-tips because those they can deposit fuzzy stuff on there. You can either get lint-free cleaning swabs, or get yourself a few of these those lint-free cloths and just kind of wipe them down. So that'll help you kind of keep them in fit. But if you're looking for replacements, all I do is it's an 8-pack of the lenses that drop into these brass sleeves. Those brass sleeves are reusable. You don't need to buy the whole thing over again.
See, there's the one that I rebuilt the other day.
Yeah, there you go.
That's got Steve's lens in it, and I don't know if you can see it, but I cleaned it. This one was a little charred up. I think I don't know what happened to it, but it was a little charred up. So I cleaned it with the fiber laser and marked it so that I know that's not a factory lens. But that's all I use, and I don't go through all of that. I use, like I said, 91% alcohol. Now, I did send out for alcohol the other day, and Brandy brought me back some like 80 something. I'm not going to use that for cleaning lenses, but there again, I don't usually clean my laser and then take off with it, and I go over it and over it and over it until it is spotless. I do want to get me some better Q-tips, but I mean, I've been doing this 3 years. My D1 and D1 Pro both have the factory lenses on them, and I've cleaned them 200 or 300 times probably. The only time I've ever had a problem busting lenses was when my air compressor filter stopped up on me, and it was spitting water on the lenses. And I went through like 4 lenses in a week, and I knew I had a problem because since then I haven't had to change any lenses, and before then I hadn't had to change any lenses. So, but like I said, I have been doing mine the same way ever since I've had them. Matter of fact, I think I've still got the same bottle of rubbing alcohol I bought when I had my D1. But
well, it's not expensive to get the 99% stuff. Simple shirt. I mean, if you can't find it locally, you can go on Amazon. They have an Amazon Basics. You get 16 ounces of it for $8.54. You
yeah,
get
I can't find it. I can't find it here locally. I've
You can get
looked
a liter
before.
of it for $13.49. So it's an inexpensive thing. Make sure you're using the right cleaner. You don't want anything on there that's going to leave a residue or leave a film, because that's just going to cause your laser beam to interact with that. It's going to heat up and either crack or fog up your lens. So
You
get
definitely don't
yourself the
want
right cleaning
fingerprints on
stuff.
there.
Yeah.
You don't want fingerprints on there.
So what else we got? I see we've got a few other people in here. We got Rick Ramirez, Rick 2 Cents, stopping by. He runs another laser related channel, as well as does live streams with a few others on, is it Saturday midday, I think, or was it Friday? I kind of get them mixed up, because we also got Rich and Patrick, who do theirs every other weekend, and others. There's a
Yeah,
lot of them out. There's a lot of good content. But
everybody keeps moving around here lately too, so that's kind of had me messed up because I've got some
but
local channels that
but
conflict.
great to have you guys stopping in here. We appreciate the support, as I know Clack and I try to hop in there and check others out as well.
VT makers want to know what are some of the more useful 3D prints you've made for your lasers. I make a lot of parts, like covers for limit switches or adapters for this or focus tools, or my camera. I guess my camera housing would probably be my most used because I've used it. I've got it in like every enclosure I've got.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is some cable management clips that I made. I mean, that's basically what I got the 3D printer for. And then the other day I got hit with this guy asking me to come up with something and make them for him, and it's like, sure, I can do that. And I did it, and he's like, okay, I want 150 of them. Yep.
These are one of the more useful ones I've printed. I was trying to see what I had near me. These are honeycomb pins, and so they push down, and you can basically scale them to the size of the weave of your honeycomb. So that's a nice one. Cable management stuff all the time. I know you've made some nice ones for like the Sculpt Fund and others as well. And I include a 3D printed little tool for those lenses back when they had the brass nut in them, and before they were gluing them in, they were just hard to get out because they had a slot in there, but it's inside. So I 3D printed up those tools so that you could twist that out. Now with them glued in, people are breaking them because they're not breaking free with the glue. So, but I've printed up some like a pencil alignment tool for the F1. I 3D printed one of those. It's kind of nice. I tried when I first got my D1, before they were really offering an air assist kit. I did try laser printing some cones, which limited success. And speaking of fires, I'd be very careful anywhere that your laser is going to constantly be on it, because that's, especially that plastic filament, that'll start a fire on you really quick too. So you got to be a little judicious on where you use it. But yeah, you'd be surprised at the number of things you've got. You can print up a little, sometimes it's just a hinge or a block to support something or
Yeah.
whatnot.
Well,
They're quite handy.
I will say, as far as what I use the most here in the shop, is probably my little microphone holders and my ZV1 charger holder, to where I made it to where you can mount it to the wall. I use those like every video that I do. So, and
Hmm.
before that, I was bad to lay down a microphone and it get knocked off the table or, get pushed over somewhere. But now I know exactly where they are when I go looking for them. My battery charger's not like flying all over the place. So those are some of the things that I like, as far as being able to do, just print your own stuff and design your own stuff. Is pretty neat.
Well, and we've got a bunch of bikes. For some reason, in my wood shop, there's these bikes in here. I don't know. I don't know why anybody put them. No. But they've been hanging off the ceiling and sitting over there. And the boys have outgrown the smaller ones, and they're all getting to driving age now anyway. So I'm kind of like, hey, can we move the bikes out so I can use that space? And if someone really wants a bike, we'll reacquire an appropriate sized one. But so yeah, once I get this wall that no one can see, it's basically bare because there's walls hanging in front, or there's bikes hanging in front of the wall. Then I plan to do more of that management stuff too.
Yeah. Shelby, I don't have anything planned. The only thing I've really got planned right now is Thursday I'm headed over to Workbench Con over in Atlanta, And while I'm over there, I'm going to try to get my feet on the ground and get a feel for the place and try to figure out where exactly we're going to do it. But I've got a few guys that live over in Georgia that are wanting to maybe go out and like grab some snacks or something one night while I'm over there. So I'll be hanging out with those guys at some point after all the daily activities are over with or whatever. But now I do a lot of times go to Tennessee. I think last year I was in vacation in Gatlinburg, and we were walking through Gatlinburg, and somebody messaged me and was like, "Clack, are you in Gatlinburg?" And it was one of the guys that watches the channel, and I didn't get the message because I had my phone like shoved down in my backpack. I didn't get the message until I got back to the motel room, but that was kind of weird. I'm walking, I'm walking down the street in the middle of Gatlinburg, and what's the chances of somebody being there that actually recognized me? First of all, because I didn't have any of my Clack Shack stuff on. But no, I'll if I do go to Tennessee, or if I travel anywhere, I'm gonna try to at least set up something to where maybe maybe I can meet some of you guys, because it is interesting. I do like hearing people's stories, and I had somebody message me the other day and was telling me about how because y'all know my background in law enforcement, and the issues with like veterans and law enforcement and PTSD and stress management is terrible in law enforcement. I mean, law enforcement has one of the highest suicide rates of any profession, the highest divorce rate of any profession, also one of the highest regularities of alcoholism. I mean, it's ridiculous what the stress and stuff does to you. Uh, and so that was one of the reasons I kind of leaned into woodworking as hard as I have over the past 3 or 4 years. And I actually got a message from a guy the other day, and I'm not going to call him out, but I had a message from a guy the other day basically saying that he had the same issues and that he started doing woodworking, and he has never loved life more and enjoyed himself more. And so those kind of stories, those personal things that a lot of people don't tell you about, those mean a lot to me, because a lot of times, and Steve will tell you, a lot of times this stuff gets to where it's irritating and you can't come up with ideas, you can't come up with motivation to do stuff. And so hearing something like that is like, you know what, I never really realized that you know that kind of impact would be for somebody without me actually going out and telling them. I mean, I'm not sitting anybody down on a couch and giving them therapy or anything, but it is good to know that they enjoy the hobbies that I enjoy, and it helps folks, because that is a big deal. And I'm working with a buddy of mine here locally that runs a veterans like a farm basically, or a ranch where people can come. I'm working with him to try to get an event set up to where we can do a fundraiser for him, because he does a week long kind of dude ranch for veterans with PTSD. And he allows veterans to come there and stay for the weekend, ride horses, park their camper and stuff like that free of charge. And so what we're wanting to do is to try to get an event set up at his place and basically have it be a fundraiser for him, and maybe do some classes and a couple of giveaways of lasers and stuff like that. But that's kind of where I see a lot of my stuff leaning in the future when I get the time. But right now, until I retire, it's just trying to keep up. But we'll see. Mike, meetup info on Facebook. Well, when I go to Georgia, I will advertise it on both my Facebook as well as YouTube and all that, if you're talking about when I go to Georgia. But I'll be over there Thursday night, Friday night, and I think Saturday night too. I'll have to look at my itinerary, but I think
Now,
that's what it said.
I'll be driving through Nashville on my way down to see you.
Yeah.
So depending on how far I drive in one day,
Yeah.
we'll see. I might be staying
Now,
in that.
Steve's planning on being in Clanton. Have we nailed the date down yet? Are you going to be able to make the 20th?
Yeah. So I'm going to try to be there as early as I can on the 20th, and then probably be around to like maybe the 23rd or so, that Tuesday. Kind of, we still need to figure out what all we can and want to do.
Yeah.
And then weather dependent, I might be staying longer or coming back sooner or whatnot. Not decided. I'll be coming back kind of the same way. So I may, if Sunday works out, I may swing through and bug him some more. But yeah, for sure, right around the 20th to 23rd of April, I should be in that area.
Well, May is having her open house at her place on the 20th, and I've got to go there because a lot of May's folks actually watch us. And so May May has asked that I come by her open house at least. So I'm going to be, we'll probably try to get Steve to go up there. So if any of y'all are from the area, this may be one of the few opportunities to have me and Steve in the same room and not like, 1,000 miles apart. And we're also going to be having our homestead channels around here are having a meet and greet in Jemison, Alabama, and I think there's going to be Cog Hill and a bunch of the other ones are going to be there. So I'm hoping maybe we can pull away a little while and run by there and see that. Oh, yep. Jenny says yes. We have to go to May May's. See, I told you if I don't,
Yeah,
May May will have them all hating on me.
I caught a little bit of her live stream the other day, and she was calling you out, making sure you had to be there. So,
Yeah.
well, you won't be able to use me as an excuse. I'll be there, and we'll go. So I am definitely trying to make sure I'm there early enough. It just kind of depends on how early I can leave from here and how far I drive. You know,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm trying to figure out those logistics as we're looking into it, but definitely planning on being there at the latest, 10 a.m. ish on the 20th. So I should be able to
Cool.
be
But
there
as soon as
for
we get,
most of
yeah,
that.
as soon as we get everything nailed down, though, we'll put it out, guys, where y'all will know, especially for some of the folks that are local. I know there's a lot of guys in Birmingham, Montgomery, and reasonably close. Maybe we could even like have, like a dinner with Steve or something. We could like all meet up at a O'Charlie's or Outback and let Steve buy us all lunch.
Oh yeah, please.
But yeah, Shelby, I have all kinds of diagnosis when it comes to that. But yeah, this stuff keeps me on the. It helps keep me motivated, keeps me sane, I guess you could say. Because not only have I been in law enforcement as long as I have, but I also did computer forensics, internet crime investigations, and that kind of thing for 15 years. So that's 15 years of digging through everybody's dirty laundry, basically, because when you look at someone's computer, whether it's a child predator or whether it's a murder suspect, you find some pretty gory things on computers. And so between all of that, my psyche has done the best that it can do to hang on through the years. Being on the SWAT team, barricaded subjects, and people that are ready to end their own lives or possibly take yours, and some of them, attempt to or do so. It's a little taxing, but doing woodworking and lasers and working around the yard is one of those things that I royally enjoy, and I look forward to it daily because it's low stress. I mean, when you've stood outside a door and hear a guy say, "I'm killing the first beepity beep that comes through the door," and you look at your buddies and like on three, you know, woodwork is not stressful. That's kind of stressful because you know that the first two or three dudes in that room, there's a really good chance you're going to become a lead pillow. But yeah, so this kind of stuff, I love it. I enjoy it, and it's really really cool.
Yeah,
James says he's about an hour south of Montgomery, so he's only about an hour and a half away.
it's a lot of people have. I mean, that's an extreme form of stress, but being able to come home and just have some time to decompress and work on some, for me, working in IT, a lot of it is figuring out, ones and zeros, what's not going right. It's all electronic virtual stuff, right? It's nice to come home and
Yeah,
actually work with physical items and, create something. That's where, when building this garage, we put the frame up and basically had it ready, the sheathing ready for roofing and siding in a week. And it was a long week. It was a lot of hard work, but I felt so accomplished every day because you could sit back and say, I did that. That's what my time went into doing and such. So, it's
yeah.
it's definitely a nice escape for a lot of people. A great escape. I mean, I've heard a lot of people like yourself, veterans and law enforcement, where it is a way for them to just kind of decompress and something to focus on rather than all those things that are in your
Yeah.
mind from that. So,
Oh yeah, no doubt. That if Greg, I haven't done a event in quite a while, but the last few I've done were successful. I'm fixing to be redoing my setup for this upcoming season. I'm going to be taking the X Tool D1 off of the table in my little redneck enclosure, and I'm going to be adding the A24 Pro to it. And I think it's gonna make it look a lot better because my little enclosure that I built, it works, it serves the purpose, but it didn't allow for that panoramic view that this new one is gonna
Yeah.
work.
Yeah,
So
that's really nice. I was using the it's kind of, you can almost see it right there. The Great Carve enclosure that's the laser proof or laser rated acrylic all around it for my latest review that I'll have out maybe tomorrow. And it's so nice being able to look at it from every angle rather than just, whatever window you might have, or, squinting because, you don't have it in enclosure. So,
yeah,
um, I like seeing these newer enclosures on these machines that are more of the top is that, laser rated acrylic. It works a lot better.
yeah. Thank you there, Bob. Yeah, Jim. Like I said, I got a lot of buddies that were military firefighters. I mean, it's different variations of stuff, but it's a lot of the same stuff. And it's like I tell people all the time. Uh, that stuff is basically kind of like garbage, and you can either take the garbage out, or you can sit there and stare at it, or you can get a compactor. But over years, it builds up. So I've kind of taken the approach that it took me a while to learn how to digest the stuff, but there's some of that stuff that you see it during the day, and then when you come home and you try to go to sleep, I mean you just keep seeing it. It's like the gift that keeps on giving, and it took me several years of waking up in the middle of the night in a puddle of sweat, heart racing, sitting straight up into bed, thinking that it was a life or death scenario, just to realize that it's 3 o'clock in the morning and everybody else is asleep. Yeah, I went through several years of that, and it was a battle. I will say that. I sympathize with guys, and I know dudes. We had a guy. I mean, last week we had a local officer that was friends with some of my friends. That nobody knew he had problems until we're all standing around a casket. He for whatever reason, and nobody knows why, but it got the better of him, and he was a good guy, had a family, had a son, and he let that stuff drive him to that point, and that is terrible. It's terrible for anybody to do it, especially somebody like that have just surrounded with people that could have helped him. But folks like that, it's one of those things that I thank the good Lord every day that mine never got to that point. And I think it's probably just because I'm so stubborn. And let's face it, I love myself too much to do something like that. I mean, there's always a way out, in my opinion. But yeah, any guys that have served, first responders, military, hats off. I'm hopefully about to conclude my tour, and I'll spend the rest of my time doing the Clack Shack stuff. So we'll see. But yeah, well, thank you for your service there, Bob. Because I'm going to tell you, everybody takes EMTs for granted until you, like I said, you're kicking that door in, and you're like, "Hey, are the medics here yet?" And they're like, "Yes, they're on standby." Okay, all right, let's get this door open. Because you don't know if it's you or your buddy or who's going to be the one to catch that first round. But you're going to want one of those guys to put their finger in the hole when it's over with. So, anyway, we could go down that rabbit hole for weeks.
So
Yeah.
we had a question earlier. I think we breezed past it, but someone was asking what swabs we recommend for cleaning, and I have a link for one. I'll see. Hopefully, it doesn't break. But these are some that I use, and I'll drop it over in my chat as well. So hopefully, it goes direct. That work well. That they're lint free. You can dab them in your alcohol, get that damp, wipe it down, and it shouldn't leave any dust debris. So something to check out there. Again, using the right tools. Otherwise, just getting those lint-free cloths. You can just search for that anywhere. You get them at eyeglass stores. I know Walmart stocks them, or get them online. Just make sure you're not leaving anything on that lens, and that'll help you out with your cleaning.
Yeah, better equipment definitely would make it easier. Like I said, I use lesser equipment, but I am meticulous
Yeah.
and I am careful with mine. And if you're not going to be that way, like I said,
Well,
I actually looked in my local drugstore when I go in there to get my vitamins, and I can't find anything stronger than 91%.
yeah, it's hard to find
But
locally.
I am going to probably end up ordering me some stuff on Amazon because I want to try 2 or 3 different ones and see which one I like best. As far as like the swabs and lens cleaners, and because they sell all kinds of little lens cleaners and stuff. Yeah, Rusty, that we actually did a demo in the video and showed you how to do it. You must have stepped away for a minute there. But what was the dollar values for for
24 and
the
25 should be your homing feed rate and your seek rate. So the seek rate, the 25 is kind of like the fast to get it back there, and then it hits the limit switch, kind of does its back off, and then slows in on it to get its kind of precise. That's going to be the slow homing feed rate. So that's your 24. So you want to play with those a little bit. Usually I only adjust the fast rate. And it's going to kind of depend on what machine you have, where you want to set that. I would just kind of maybe step it up at, maybe 500 to 1,000 millimeters a minute at a time, if that's what your machine's set at. And then, just do a homing cycle, see if that seems reasonable. Just not getting jittery. It's not like slamming into the corner or anything, and speed it
yeah
up from there.
yeah, but we went over that and kind of showed you. I got a little off track, but as far as the uh, the uh, the move commands, those are on your move tab in Lightburn. The speed up top, it's basically the same where you set the framing speed. But you can adjust that as well. Because like sometimes I'll frame fast if I'm just doing cuts, but if I've got something that I need exactly framed perfect, then I'll slow that frame speed way down so I can make sure it does it exactly like it's supposed to. But anyway, maybe it's time for the map talk, Steve. Have we hadn't had the map talk tonight?
Oh, we haven't had the map top, and I don't have it up, but hopefully in the descriptions of both of if you're watching it on either of our channels on YouTube or Facebook, there should be a link down below for our laser graver and community viewer map. And there's also a link to a form where you can fill out your information. It asks for a name, and that can just be a screen name, business name. You can actually leave it blank if you want. But then it'll ask for a location, and you don't need to put your home address unless you want to. You can just put, your city and state, or, if you're in England and you live down the road from Stonehenge, you could put Stonehenge in. As long as it's a landmark or an address that Google Maps can recognize, it'll put a dot there. The catch is I actually have to go in and update them myself manually, because Google's always changing things, and they took away their kind of auto update thing. So I do that usually once a day. I usually try to do it a few times here through the stream, but it's just kind of a fun thing for us to see where our viewers are at. You can view the map as well and see where people are maybe at around you, and we might use it in the future to say, hey, we're going to be in this area, and if people want to try to meet up, let's try to make that happen. But if you want, go ahead and hit those links, and we'll be updating the map here by the end of the stream, and appreciate filling that out. I think we got the lower 48 covered. We're still looking for someone in Alaska, and then we're filling out worldwide from there as well. So, yeah, have fun with it, and help us see where everyone's at.
Deborah's asking a question, and I'm not really sure on this one. I've never really thought about using it, but want to know if denatured alcohol will work instead of 99% isopril. But denatured is more of a like antibacterial, like a sterilization agent. I don't know that I would prefer it over the other.
Yeah, it's it's got a different composition for it.
Yeah, it's
and I think it has more added to it, which what I would be concerned with.
that was my fear would be that it would have some oils of some type in it as well.
Yeah, it can have ethanol in it, and it's generally a little more toxic than isopropyl alcohol. So
Yeah,
it's got
it's a lot stronger solvent. I know
yeah,
because my days on the lab team when we used to collect labs, they used denatured alcohol to break down
yeah. They're both cleaning
oils and
agents.
stuff.
And as a matter of fact, if you're having, if you've got like a lens cover or something it's really marked up or it's really glued in, you could try using some denatured alcohol, or I'd step it up even to some acetone to try to break that down and clean it up more. But for just general cleaning, I'd try to stick with the isopropyl alcohol. If you can't find it locally, definitely I would try to see if you can grab some off Amazon or another online source.
Yeah, the purpose is not as much. You want it to have a little bit of like a cleaning capability, but you're not really. The biggest concern is you want everything to evaporate, everything to leave there. You don't want any kind of residue, no kind of oils, no kind of anything. And as long as it's, I guess, as long as it's pure alcohol, it will evaporate. But yeah, like I said, can't say that it wouldn't work. I mean, but I've never used denatured alcohol for anything around the house, to be honest with you, except back during the great outbreak. They were saying that denatured alcohol was a good agent to use to sterilize the doorknobs and stuff like that. But
I'm just going to go ahead and grab and update the map real quick while we're talking about it and
okay,
thinking about it.
Don's saying that denatured doesn't leave any residue. Said he uses it when he's doing AC work on vehicles. So I mean, it may be a workable option, but like I said, the biggest thing is you don't want it to deposit any kind of oils or anything like that on the glass. That's the biggest thing is oils and like Steve said, lint and so forth. You want that glass to be as clean gets. Uh, like I said, one of the biggest things, and you just oil like from your fingers, especially if you have oily fingers. I have really dry fingers, so that's not a big problem for me. But that oil on your finger gets on that lens, it'll also cause it to fail early. So, if you had a cleaning agent that had some kind of oil in it that it left deposited on the glass, that would not be a good thing.
Yeah. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, using those swabs is nice, especially when you get into cleaning mirrors on CO2 lasers that you can't necessarily take out easily. That's where having those swabs is nice because it's really hard to see in there if you've left any lint and whatnot. So that's where I like to
Yeah,
use
true.
those.
Yeah, I've been looking at upgrading to those. I just haven't done it yet.
Nope.
Like I said, and it's one of those things too. It's worked for me for like 3 years, and it's like, yeah, there are better ways that could, kind of like I said, your equipment sometimes can cover you if you make a mistake. So that's one of those situations I think to where the better the equipment, the less effective you have to be because
Hmm.
it'll do a little bit better job.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've had some methanol before, a few times. I try not to partake of a whole lot of it.
I mean the stuff that typically is in a jar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, around here it's usually in a plastic milk jug with a snap top.
That reminds me of a time when my friend decided to get into brewing, and he was making some hard cider, and he gave me a jug, and they were in those gallon jugs with the screw on lid, and I said, "All
Hmm.
right, well, I guess I should open it." And luckily I was at the kitchen counter next to my sink because I no more than just barely twisted that thing. It shot off, and
Mm.
the gallon jug emptied about a third of its contents on my ceiling. And I'm like, I think you need to work on your fermentation process a little bit.
I was fixing to say, I don't think he killed that one off all the way.
No,
It seems
no.
like it may have still been producing a little carbon dioxide there.
Needless to say, I did not partake of any of that after having it nearly explode on me. But yeah,
Yeah, it was probably very potent though. Been sitting in that jug, just
like I
working.
said, I did not partake. Now, my many trips down to southern Georgia, I've had many fun flavors of mysterious liquids. Some of which I'm not sure weren't paint thinner. Others that had fruit in it that did not look like fruit anymore, but had a very fun taste. So yeah,
Yeah, the belly goat said he used it to remove
Yes,
paint. Hey,
exactly.
I kid you not. I grew up. Y'all know my dad was a mechanic, and so I grew up around a lot of that different stuff because he was a mechanic, and there's nothing more that says moonshine more than fast cars and NASCAR and stuff like that. And he actually like would tune like say a push mower to where it would run on shine.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like 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 it was unreal. You could get a gallon of moonshine and cut your grass, and the motors would last forever. I
Yeah.
mean, it had like no carbon buildup.
Back in my back when I was just getting into the RC hobby. Well, I started out on sailplanes, but my dad and I got into powered flight with little glow engines, and so they use a mixture of nitromethane and alcohol, and then a little castor oil, and it would go bad for our model airplanes if you didn't use it in a season or two. But man, you dump that into the Toro, mixed in with a little bit of gas, brought that thing back to life with that extra alcohol in there. So I know what you mean.
Mm, yeah. But anyway, hour and 46 minutes, guys.
Wow.
Like I said, big things coming to the shack this week. Stay tuned. I plan on hopefully whenever I get a notification tomorrow when a UPS truck starts down the driveway, I can I kind of feel like I may have a little bit of a cough or something, so I may get I may be sick at work and have to come home, uh, and so there may be a video of it getting put together and taken out of the box. Klein is dying to come help me, but unfortunately he's coaching track right now, and they got track practice tomorrow. So I don't know what time he's going to be able to get here to help me, but
See,
I've already got a plan to get it put together.
well, I mean, I could probably still put in for some time off if you wanted to, pay for some transport. I could come down there early. We could assemble that and then run over to Workbench Con. But
Yeah, but
yeah.
well, hopefully I can have a little bit of time with it before I have to go, and that's what I told Brandy. That's why I've been cramming, trying to get
Mhm.
the wall done, the circuit put in, and get all my yard work done. Get Brandy's punch list of those little wooden things that over the years have gotten loose or wouldn't close properly or whatever. I got all those things knocked out, got all that done, got the grass exposed, got all of our southern snow cleaned up, pine straw, and so we're good to go. I have cleared my schedule for the next couple of days, hopefully, so that I can put the CNC together. I still have to go to work because we got some stuff going on I can't miss. But hopefully, hopefully when the UPS truck runs tomorrow, I'll have a moment to at least come bask in the glory of it.
Well, I hope that comes quickly and you do get some time on it, because that'll be fun. Um, as for my week, hopefully I won't be going to the dentist this week like last week because that was fun. But I've been, some of you caught my live stream. I put together the ACMR, their, what do they call it? The P1S
Pro?
Pro. It's a little 6-watt laser, which, in this day and age where we're talking about 70-watt lasers coming out, you might ask, well, why would you look at that? But man, I'm enjoying the engraving capability. And so hopefully I'll have this video out tomorrow, but this is one of the things I was able to do with it. This is a white tile that was painted black and then engraved. Um,
Well, you did a pretty good job on that there,
and
Steve.
so that was fun. We did a painted canvas here with the Mandalorian and Grogu or Baby Yoda. So it's performing well with these. And as a matter of fact, let's see. Here's the wooden engraving I did with this lizard. If I can get my hand off of it. There we go. So these things do. If you want to do some highly detailed engraving, you get down to those lower powers. You can get some pretty decent performance. But I was pleasantly surprised. It did still cut out. This is 16th-inch basswood. See if I can focus on that. There you go. This is without air assist. I did not sand anything, and so they're coming out pretty clean and whatnot. And this was at about 400 millimeters a minute at that speed. So actually fairly impressed with this for even just being a 6-watt laser. So hopefully this video is out maybe tomorrow. Depends on how much editing I've got to do. So that'll be out. And then I'm playing with another laser that is able to do things like this. And if I can get to focus, that one I'm still playing with the contrast on and such, but I'll surprise you yet on that one. So hopefully I'll have some stuff out on that one here shortly as well. So working through some of that. I still have some other projects in the back of my mind, and hopefully get those as well. But things are hopping. Shop's been busy. Glad we're having some good weather.
Yeah. Old Guy Designs. I have the Shapeco 5 Pro with the 1200 watt. I guess it is. I think it's 1200 watt. The spindle, as well as like I got the upgraded little dust collection and stuff like that. Few other little odd and ends to go with it. But I wanted to. I decided instead of just buying it a piece at a time, I'd just go ahead and get it all coming at one time. Now, I may have to run it for a little while without the spindle because somehow the spindle shipped 2 days before the machine did, but it shipped FedEx. The machine shipped UPS, and yesterday the spindle was still in California, but the machine was in Montgomery. So I don't know how that works. I don't know how you ship something 2 days earlier with FedEx and UPS is out for delivery in the morning. So I don't, whatever. But I may wind up having to just leave it as is and run the router on it for a day or two until the spindle gets here. But I'm hoping that by the time I get it put together and ready to go, maybe the spindle will be here. So we'll see.
Well, if your FedEx is anything like mine, they do the whole Scotty thing where they under promise and over deliver. So I can pretty much count on them being, if they're telling me it's going to show up Monday, it's probably going to show up Saturday. It's usually a day earlier in their delivery schedule. So hopefully that's true for you as well, that they're hedging their bets on their tracking. But yeah, you're going to have some stuff to build and get all working before you drop that.
Let me click on it and see where it's at now here. VFD spindle. Let me see where that tracking number takes me. Has it even left California yet? Okay, so it's supposed to be here Tuesday. Apparently, it's in Carson, California now. Anyway, but they're saying Tuesday it'll be here. So maybe by Tuesday night I can have the full machine set up and ready to go. But we'll see. Mark, what is... Sharon said your engraves look great. I thought they looked pretty good too. I'm not sure Steve did those. I ain't too sure you can buy those somewhere.
I have video proof. I just have to edit it.
So I'm guessing the few little hurdles that you had in the beginning you've overcome.
Yeah, it's running pretty well for me right now. I have had a couple things. I do need to test it yet on, maybe another computer, because there were still a few times where it would run a job fine, but it seems like after it was done with the job, sometimes it would get confused and it would say busy when I send the next job and I got to reboot it. But no, it's been running well, run pretty consistent for me. And, I think it's a $220 laser is the base kit there's no bells and whistles with it. Yeah. Oh, and I also figured out, I did figure out I was struggling with the cable management in the video, and I actually kind of then figured out what they wanted you to do to keep it from dragging all over. So I have that included in the follow-up video as well.
Yeah, well, Jer O'Grady, I think I will too. Like I said, a buddy of mine here locally has a 4, and he spoke highly of the 4 that he had. And I asked him about the 5, and he started like drooling. And so I took that as yes, I would probably like the 5. That I do know that my buddy's 4 has belts, and he was like, he didn't have any problems with the belts, but he was like, if he could get one with ball screws, it'd be so much nicer. So that was kind of one of the things that sold me on it. Thank you there, Brett.
So Dale was commenting that people keep saying I should sell the stuff I make, but I'm afraid that would take the joy out of it. Any thoughts? There's a lot of people that enjoy this as a hobby, and they just enjoy making things for people. And if you're fortunate enough to be able to do that, and you're not having to, a lot of people, they can only have it if they're able to sell some things and have it pay for itself. But it is really nice when a hobby can be a hobby, and you can just make things for people that you want, and give them away, and just enjoy their enjoyment of that. There's nothing wrong with that. Just kind of, it depends on where you're at and why you kind of got started in it, really. But yeah, no, I used to be really heavy into my model airplane hobbies. I was writing for a national magazine. I was working for large international companies, helping them with their products. I was running events for my club, and it kind of made my hobby into a job, and it kind of sucked the life out of it. And so I've stepped back from that. I still enjoy it as a hobby, and I purposely keep it that way. So yeah, you can ruin it, and you can take the joy out of it, turn it into a job. But
Yeah, but it's on the same note though. It's also nice when you can use your machine to make things and then take that money and put it in a cookie jar and buy another machine or another tool,
yeah,
or you know what I mean. So it like you said, it just depends on what your motivation is.
yep.
Now, if you're like talking about people ordering stuff and you having to make stuff for them specifically, that can be a little stressful because some people are just high maintenance and their expectations are unrealistic. But if you're just making stuff and people are seeing it and go, "Oh, that's cool. I'd like to buy it." That's a lot less stressful because you've already made it. They saw it when they made the decision to buy it, so there's no expectation of it being better than it is. So that to me is the best kind. Like if you put it
Yeah.
on Facebook or Marketplace and somebody buys it, they know what they're getting when they say, "Hey, I want to buy that." You know,
And I've run into
custom
people.
stuff can be tricky.
I've run into people at when our local makerspace has their quarterly markets. There's one guy down there. He does a lot of wood turning, and he'll have just stacks of bowls, and he'll have them like, oh yeah, the small ones are $6, the medium ones are $9, or pick any three for $20. And I'm looking at him going, I know how much time it takes to turn one of these. You're doing this for fun. He's like, oh yeah. He says he gets the wood for free because he knows someone who is in the tree business, and he's kind of a retired. I think he said he was a retired teacher or something, and he just enjoys teaching other people the hobby. And he does this. He goes to the shows really just to meet people and clear out his shop of stuff, which is
Yeah.
unfortunate for the guy who maybe is trying to do it to make money. That's the other thing, is that they're bringing down the value of others. But no, there's whatever your motivation for it is. If it's not to make money, don't worry about making money with it, because yeah, that may ruin it for you. But saw a question about these. Were these images on acrylic? No, these are these little metal cards that you can get.
It's
So
anodized aluminum, isn't it?
some of them are anodized aluminum, some of them are coated stainless steel. I'm not 100% sure which ones these are, because they're in this unmarked plastic box that I've had for a while.
So they're the mystery cards.
So, but they do engrave very well. So, um, but yeah, no, these are you can pick these up. They have various thicknesses, different colors. You can get these. These are shiny. I actually have some matte finish ones coming, but these work really well when you have uh, when you're really trying to dial in the fine point detail capabilities. These work well because it's only going to burn away wherever the beam hits, and it doesn't really spread, such as it would with wood. That's a weird way to say that, but
Jeffrey's saying, are they magnetic? If they're aluminum or stainless steel, then no, a magnet's not going to stick to them.
yeah,
That's what
they
you're
are
asking.
they are not magnetic, so they're not ferrous. Oh,
Let's see. Dave said it, he's checked out Shapeco 5. Looks like a nice machine. I think it's going to be uh, true 48 by 48 work area. That was something that not many machines offer. And the price, it's more than some, but less than others. So, I mean, it looks rugged enough to do what I want to do with it, and we'll see. Like I said, if nothing else, if it'll hold me over for a few years until I get a bigger shop, then maybe we can discuss getting something bigger. But for now, that's about all the space I can allocate to the CNC operations. So,
and on this, as far as tips on a long-lasting CNC, I mean, looking at some of the players that have been out there a little bit longer, that's going to bode well for you. Is that they've got some experience with it. Um, Depending on how you're using it, as a hobbyist versus production, you can get by with a lighter machine that's going to last a long time if you just, you run a project every other week. But that being said, I had an open builds. This was a roller belt driven machine that I was running probably 6, 8 hours a day, sometimes busier during busy times. I mean, I'd come home from work, I'd be out here for 4 to 6 hours cutting kits on it. I mean, I was running that thing hard. I ran tens of thousands of dollars of sales through that thing. And what mattered was having maintenance regimens. And I did occasionally have to replace some wheels and some bearings and some belts. But the machine is still, I mean, my friend who I originally got it from bought it back for me after I got my Onefinity, and he's tuned it up and he's still using it. So, um, it it really, it's a balance of having a at least a good enough machine that they've put some thought into it, but in how you maintain it is really going to make the difference. I mean, because you can have a Onefinity and you can abuse it, and it's going to be junk within 6 months if you don't clean it, if you don't keep it in the right environment, if you try to run it, when it's too cold or too humid, and not, re-oil things and maintain things and, get the dust off of things, you're going to destroy it just as quickly as you will. Maybe it'll last a little bit longer than some of the others, but you're still going to destroy it. So, Shapeoko is definitely a brand that's been around for a while. Onefinity has been here for a few years and really supported their users. So, those are definitely two that we'll be able to speak to you about, once Clack gets you theirs. But there are definitely some others out there that are worth looking at. But again, they're all just going to kind of come down to your maintenance routine, I think.
Yeah, and that's like I said, my buddy Tip, he is Tip's one of those guys to where if you looked at his shop, you would think it was like the set for a show or something. Because I mean, he
Hmm.
keeps it clean. Like I mean, his stuff is organized and clean. He's prior military, so I mean, he takes care of his stuff. And that's what he told me. He's like, you have to. He does his maintenance and he keeps up with his hours and all that on it and does his maintenance. But he said that he's had minimal, like a couple of set of belt, like maybe a set or two of belts, and I think he said he had a couple of wheels that had flat spots on them or got messed up. But he spoke highly of them, and I know some other folks. One of our other friends, what where it just left me. Sam over at Samcraft,
Mhm.
he's got a Shapeoko that he's had for a while, and I've spoke with him, and he likes his. So this is supposed to be their latest and greatest. So if all my buddies that I know are liking the one they made before this one, and they're saying this one's improved, so we'll see. Now I do know they dropped the belts and went with the lead screws and everything. So or not lead
Ball
screws,
screws.
ball screws.
Yep.
Yeah. So they went with ball screws. And so that was one of the things that I was a little concerned about because I do sometimes dig a little deeper with the bits than I should. The Genmitsu 6050, I've got to where I've learned that machine enough that I don't catch myself like plowing through something to where I feel the router bogging down anymore. But I'm sure there'll be those times. And having those screws like that instead of a belt, I just think is better longevity and torque wise. So
So,
we'll see.
it's true with lasers and it's also true with CNC machines. Your extraction, so for the lasers, the better your airflow and your extraction, you're getting that particulate away from the machine. That helps all of your maintenance be easier and longer lasting. Same thing with the CNC machine. Good dust extraction
Yeah.
is key to keeping, that machine running because that is what will do the most damage to it is getting those dust and chips into all the moving parts, and that will start, wearing it down much faster. So that's
Yeah. Well,
where
I've got that part. I've got that
it,
part covered.
well, you know, you'll see if it's good enough. I mean, there's some people who have run simple dust extractors on them and they go, nope, that's not enough. I got to step it up. So, um,
Well, I will say this: the 6050 can't throw out enough chips to keep that thing from picking them all up.
yeah,
The
well,
only like I can do a cut on that one without the stationary boot, with the boot that actually goes up and down with the router on that one, and the only chips it will leave is usually on the sides of the tabs. There will be a little pile of them on the edges of the tabs. But with the Shapeco, I've actually bought the fixed boot to where you can actually set the brushes with the surface
Hmm.
of the material, and the
Yeah, the spindle
spindle
moves up
actually
and down.
goes
Yep.
up and down inside it so that the brushes don't leave the surface of the material. And I think that's going to help it. And like I said, I've got plenty of suction with the setup that I'm running. So we'll see. I think it's going to be the right combination because I spent the extra, was it $150 to get the fixed boot instead of the sweepy that comes with it. So I'm hoping it pays off because I really really don't like this thing slinging chips all over the place.
Yeah.
Uh, because that one will do it, and I've got the chip extraction working pretty well. But when I first got it, it was terrible.
Hmm.
Like especially on pockets and stuff, it would sling chips all the way across the room over there.
Yep.
But I am looking forward to it.
Cool stuff.
Oh, there you
Absolutely. You got to have as much air in as going out. Um, maybe just a touch less, so it creates a little bit of a vacuum. But if you don't have the appropriate inlet, you're going to create a vacuum, and your air exhaust is not going to work very well. Um, Same thing is, I see a lot of people in various groups have been buying some of the air filter units, the air purifiers and such, and they work okay. But as they are filtering those, they're getting clogged up, and eventually the airflow cuts down so low that smoke starts building up in the machine, and then they're seeing it spill out. And that's you got to have that airflow. If it can't move the air, it's not going to clean it, it's not going to dump it outside, and it's going to cause problems for you and the machine. So you do want to keep in mind having the same amount of inlet somehow with your laser to then have it then put it out. Now, if you're in the appropriate climate, like Clack is, you actually have an external air in and then out. So it's just circulating air through the enclosure. It's not pulling it from your workspace and then dumping it outside. I have not done that. I wouldn't want to do that in the middle of winter. It would probably be very bad.
you could probably get away with it a couple of months out of the year.
Well, this winter I could have gotten away with it most of the winter, but a typical winter, no, I'm not going to want to dump, you know,
30
sub-zero
below.
air into my machine and expect it to live. But yeah, airflow is important on these things. So I see too many people. They're like, oh, I got to seal this enclosure up. No, you don't need to seal it up. You need to make sure you got the proper airflow through it, and then you still shouldn't see, or you shouldn't be smelling smoke outside of it because it's just moving it through.
Yep. Agreed. All right, guys, it's 2 hours and 7 minutes. I'm gonna have to start, paying Steve overtime here in a minute if we don't wrap this up. So, but I've got to go to work tomorrow and get a good night's sleep, so I have plenty of energy in case I have to stay out here late putting together a CNC. I do plan on trying to video some of it. I'm going to at least maybe set up a time lapse and use the glasses for some of the tripping hazards that I run across. If there's anything that catches my attention that looks like it could be potentially be a problem, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be a several hour build possibly. They claim that it's not, but I'm going to be OCD about squaring this thing up. So I think it's going to take me a little while. But I'll try to capture some video, of course. Uh, and depending on how easy it goes together, maybe we can fire up a live or something and just demo it tomorrow night and when I'm putting the finishing touches on it, if it comes in like it's supposed to. But I probably will be running the router the first day or so until the spindle arrives. Still don't understand that. It had a head start and it still can't make it on time. But yeah, I'm looking forward into getting into CSC a little more. I know, what was it? Dave Gatton was saying a while ago that I was going down the rabbit hole, but
Mhm.
been falling down that rabbit hole for a while. Well, I went from the 40-40 to the 30-30 to the 60-50. And then the 60-50 is what really sold me on I needed a bigger CNC because the 40-40 was a good learning tool for me. It was a good gateway in my opinion. But as far as doing a lot of projects or doing anything like my little honeycomb wall that I did would have taken me a week on the 40-40. And literally I did that in like 2 nights. I cut all those pieces out and got, so to be able to do that as a product here at the shack. I needed something with a little more oomph to it, and I think this Shapeco is going to work out really nice. And it wasn't anything against the Woodworker Elite because that's what I was looking at getting, but I kind of felt like if me and Steve had the same exact machine, that would limit our being able to compare the two machines. And I wanted to try to stay with a US based company if I could. And I basically just emailed them all and then graded them on responses. And then some of the machines, like I said, a couple of them weren't true 48 by 48s. And so that kind of kicked them to the side because I wanted a 48 by 48. But, and then I emailed Shapeoko and Onefinity, and I liked the results I got back from Shapeoko. So I will be using it. And Jim, yes, I'm using Vectric. I use VCarve right now, but of course, as soon as I exceed that, what is it, 255 millimeters, I've got to upgrade to VCarve Pro, which is going to kind of put a little hurting on my pocketbook. But I do want to be able to do 4-foot engraves with the CNC. So I'm gonna have to bite the bullet. I mean, if I can pay that kind of money for a machine, I guess I gotta pay. You got to pay to play.
Well,
But
at
I had
least
been saving for this thing for a while, so that's
yeah,
good.
and at least they give you an upgrade price on that to offset it. It's not like rebuying the software
Yeah,
in total again. But yeah, I've had to have the pro version for the bigger table as well. But
thank
once you get that, then you have no limits. So
you. Hey, what's up, Rich? Louisiana Hoppy Guy. Have a great night. Can't wait to see the CNC. He says.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I even bought it. One thing that too that I liked about the Shapeco is it has a utility uh, mount on the side of it, like a Picatinny rail, and that's just cool because I can put like a flashlight on there, or GoPro, or a camera, or a laser, or I can 3D print my own, uh, Sharpie holder, or yeah, they're limitless. So I actually
mhm.
ordered one of their mounts. Of course, I may or may not make my own version on 3D printer. But that was another thing that I liked about it. So, well, David Grant says, as a retired veteran, he wants to thank both of us for our help. Said he's been in the woodworking for a few years, new to lasers. He really appreciate our lives as well as the videos we do. Well, I appreciate that there, David, and thank you for your service. And
Yes, very
and
much.
I hope if like I said, if nothing else, I just hope that I can help some folks learn, by either by me making the mistake so you don't have to, or showing you, how I do things. And like I said, just because I show you how I do things, guys, that's not always the best way. I mean, it works for me. It's what I do, and I try to tell people, just like with the cleaning video earlier, there are other things that you could use that are probably better. But those are, that's what I started out doing, guys, and I've just came to trust my technique. And I do want to get better equipment because I think better equipment does kind of cover you if you have process failures in how you do things. Uh, but yeah, I enjoy it. I enjoy you guys, and if it wasn't for you guys watching the videos, me and Steve would just be two dudes sitting out here talking to each other. So it makes it a lot. It makes it a lot more fun to have questions and stuff.
Yeah, yep,
But
yeah. No, and there's a fine line between um, getting uh, low quality equipment that you can afford and just getting junk that's going to teach you bad habits. So sometimes when you step into the more quality tool, then you kind of have to unlearn the bad habits you learned because you were compensating for that machine. But on the other hand, it's really impressive what you can make happen with, like, 6-watt diode lasers. You can do some awesome engravings with it if you take the time to really dial in
yeah,
that spot size and such, and have some patience with it. So it's not always about the best tool wins, and there's multiple ways to do the same thing. And that's one of the wonderful things about a lot of the software is that there's many ways to get to the same result. It's just nice to see different viewpoints, the way I do it, the way you do it, the way Rich does it, the way Patrick does it. They can all be different, have similar results in the end, and it might click my way for some people and your way for someone else. So
yeah.
um, yeah, it's nice to have the audience out here keeping us motivated, and these lives are a lot of fun for us as well. So we appreciate everybody being here with your questions, your comments, and the fun ribbing and everything. So
Oh yeah. And hopefully to hear more to come. Shape and Co. 5 Pro here at the Clack Shack. I also have it on pretty good authority that longer has came out or is coming out with a Galvo design machine, which may or may not be cool. And if I can get Steve's friends over at X Tool to send me an F1, I keep getting a lot of questions about an F1. So hopefully those things will come through for us. But this week, the Clack Shack is going to be concentrated on two things: the Shapeco 5 Pro, and of course Workbench Con over in Georgia at the end of the week. So I'll try to bring you guys along and collect some video of the trip and all that stuff. But yeah, if you're in the Georgia area or want to come to the Georgia area, there will be at some point while I'm there, I'm going to throw something out there for y'all guys to come hang out, maybe have a drink or steak or whatever, and do it that way. But that's it for me tonight, guys. I'm gonna have to get off of here before Steve starts charging me overtime.
Yeah, we've gone a little extra long, but it's been fun extending the conversation. So we'll all wish Clack well at his conference and assembly. I'll be missing out on the conference, and it would be fun to be there to help you out with the CNC. But we'll figure out what's going on in the end of April when I'm down there. In the meantime, we'll have more lives and more content coming out. So stay tuned, and we'll see you all later.
And maybe when Steve comes down, he can buy us all a steak.
Okay.
Y'all be good. Good night, guys. Appreciate you. God bless.